Hello, everyone. This is Mimi Volulis, and I'm the Dean of Online Studies here at Shambhala Online. And today I'm really excited to talk with Marcella Friel, who teaches one of our life courses, Mindful Eating, Joining Heaven and Earth at the Meal Table. Marcella is a student of the Shambhala teachings and a natural food chef who has cooked and taught in retreat centers around North America, including Gampo Abbey, Shambhala Mountain Center, Spirit Rock Meditation Center, and elsewhere. She is now a mindful eating coach who helps health-conscious women love and forgive themselves, their food, and their figure. So, hi, Marcella, welcome.
Hi, Mimi. Nice to be here. Thank you so much.
So I had the pleasure of taking your class in 2015. Mm-hmm. And I took the class because I've always struggled with food. It's always been a fight for me. And I've struggled with loving myself and really treating myself well. There's a lot of self-hatred. Mm. And taking the class, I really learned just really how to be much gentler with myself. How to care for myself and some very good ways of caring and some great tools to work with when I was fighting with food, when I was struggling with this self-hatred because of what I look like, etc. So I'm excited. I'm excited you're doing the course again, and I'm really excited to hear a little bit about what you're going to be offering this year, and what's on the menu, so to speak.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, well, that's all very interesting. So this class came about. I call it Mindful Eating, Joining Heaven and Earth at the Meal Table, and the inspiration to do this class came when I was reading the book Shambhala, The Sacred Path of the Warrior. And there's a paragraph, I should be able to quote the page, I think it's page 99, but there's a paragraph where he says, the Dorje Dradal Trungpa Rinpoche says, what is the purpose of wearing clothing if the function of clothing is just to cover your body? What is the purpose of eating food if eating food is just getting calories and, getting nutrition into your body? Like, what's the purpose of this? And he proceeds then later on in the chapter to talk about appreciation and the power of appreciation, and how when a society, when a culture doesn't, how would I say it? When a society doesn't function from the basis of appreciation, then everything goes down to a very low level, and the society essentially becomes barbaric. So like what you're describing, Mimi, about the reason why you took this course, not feeling good about yourself, right? I mean, I'm sure you've probably had taking the course, not taking the course, the experience of what it is, like, for example, to appreciate yourself and prepare yourself a good meal and sit down and eat it, and how that can influence your entire day versus, say, when you just stand at the fridge and open the door and just, plow food. I mean, we all do it, right? So like I'm sure you've had an experience of that kind of contrast, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about that, like, how does your world emanate from an action that is as simple as preparing a meal? I just find this to be a really fascinating topic about the power of appreciation. And, mindfulness, of course, is really like when we're mindful, when we're present to whatever it is that is in front of us, the appreciation invariably follows,
So I wanted to ask you a question about mindfulness, because we talk a lot about mindfulness in Shambhala, but no one has really talked about mindfulness and food and eating until you started teaching on it.
Right.
And, it's talked a lot about in the Zen traditions and other traditions. But here at Shambhala, it feels like we're just starting to look at this. And I'd like to know what you see as a connection between mindfulness and food, mindfulness and eating, and how is it important in the context of enlightened society?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of what I just said definitely comes to play on that. You know, if you think about society, if you think about a culture, and you think about food, food is one of the most defining aspects of a society, of a culture. And in our society in the West, I mean, I'm really curious to hear like what you observe in Ireland, you know. But like here in the United States, most of us these days, corporations are cooking for us, right? In traditional societies and traditional cultures, you know, human beings cooked for other human beings. And now what we have is a situation where corporations are basically preparing our food. And, you know, what does that say about us as a society? What does it say about us that, for example, the family meal doesn't really happen anymore? You know, kids have soccer practice and music practice, and, you know, parents are working late coming home late from work, and all of this. Like, what happens to a society when the food traditions and the food cultures start to be compromised and start to, you know, fray around the edges? And, you know, more to the point, how can we create a food culture based on the life that we have now? Like, how do we take what the Dorje Jadal would talk about as our working basis, our current situation? Like, how do we take this reality and not just reject it, right? Like, we can't necessarily go back. How do we go forward? How do we create a civilized, decent life? How do we feed ourselves well? How do we nourish ourselves well, you know, with the circumstances that we have? I don't know. I mean, I have some ideas about it, but that's a lot of what the class explores as well, especially toward the end. You know, we do a lot about how to revive home cooking and how to actually create a meal and how to create simple sacred rituals in your everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that can just create a pause where you can stop and appreciate, you know, the food that is on your plate. Yeah.
Thank you.